$12,000. The words echo in my head as I stare at the crisp white tablecloth, the remnants of Wagyu beef and imported caviar scattered across 30 plates like evidence of a crime. My mother's voice cuts through the stunned silence of Le Chateau's private dining room. "You selfish, narcissistic, ungrateful thing." The crystal chandeliers above seem to mock me with their brilliance. 30 pairs of eyes bore into me as I reach into my purse, my hand steady despite the earthquake happening inside my chest. $200. That's what I place on the table. "This covers my pork chop and glass of wine," I say, my voice carrying across the marble floor. "Good luck with the rest." The clicking of my heels as I walk away sounds like a countdown to freedom. How did we get here? How did the daughter who once wanted nothing more than her mother's genuine love become the villain in a story that started so differently? I was 5 when I first noticed that other mothers didn't need 3 nannies to raise one child. My mother, Diana, was always somewhere else. The country club, the spa, Bergdorf Goodman. Dad would come home from building his empire, exhausted but smiling, ready to hear about my day. Mom would breeze in hours later, designer bags rustling, already talking about her next purchase. "Darling, I simply must have this new Gucci bag," she'd announce at dinner, her voice carrying that particular pitch that meant Dad's credit card was about to get another workout. Everyone at the country club has one. Dad never said no. Not once. I used to think it was love, the way he'd pull out his wallet without hesitation. Now I understand it was something else entirely. Exhaustion, maybe. Or the calculation that money was easier than fighting. The nannies came and went like seasons. Sarah was different, though. She taught me to bake chocolate chip cookies from scratch, helped me with long division, read me chapter books before bed. I was 8 when Mom fired her. I caught her wearing one of my silk scarves, Mom announced, though I'd seen Sarah carefully folding that same scarf back into Mom's drawer just hours before. "We simply can't have staff who don't know their place." I cried for 3 days. Sarah had been the closest thing to maternal love I'd ever known. Mom replaced her with Mrs. Henderson, a stern woman who smelled like mothballs and spoke in clipped sentences. Within my 8-year-old mind, a small seed of understanding took root. My mother's version of love always came with conditions. Dad died on a Tuesday. I was 14, sitting in my room doing homework when I heard Mom scream. The sound echoed through our marble hallways like a wounded animal. Heart attack at the office. Massive. Gone before the ambulance arrived. At the funeral, Mom played her part perfectly. The grieving widow in her black Chanel suit, dabbing at her eyes with a lace handkerchief. But I could see the panic lurking beneath the performance. Not because she'd lost her husband, but because she'd lost her credit card. Dad's office still smelled like his cologne when Mom decided to take over the company. She spun around in his leather chair like a child playing dress-up, then called a meeting with all the department heads. I watched from the doorway as 20 years of Dad's careful relationship building crumbled in real time. "I've learned everything about this business from my husband," she announced to the room full of skeptical faces. The lie came so easily. Dad had tried for years to get her interested in the company. She'd never even attended a board meeting. The experienced employees started disappearing first. Dad's trusted CFO left within a month. The operations manager followed soon after. Then the junior staff began jumping ship. I'd overhear whispered conversations about missed payments, canceled contracts, mounting debts. Mom was taking money from the company accounts for her personal expenses. When I questioned her about it, she'd pat my head like I was still 8 years old. "You're too young to understand business, sweetie." But I understood enough to know we were heading for disaster. The bankruptcy notice arrived just before my 16th birthday. We lost everything. The house, the cars, the designer wardrobe that had been Mom's identity. We moved to a tiny place on the outskirts of town, the kind of neighborhood Mom used to drive through with her nose in the air. The only thing left was my college fund, protected in a trust that Mom couldn't touch. But that didn't stop her from trying. "Jenna, darling," she'd say, her voice honey-sweet with desperation. "We could use that money now. We can always figure out college later." "No, Mom. That's for my education." Her face would darken like storm clouds gathering. "After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me? By watching your mother struggle while you sit on a pile of money?" I'd seen how quickly she could burn through money. I wasn't about to let her destroy my future too. Barrett University was 3 states away. I chose it specifically for the distance. My dorm room was tiny compared to my old bedroom, but it felt like paradise. No guilt trips. No silent treatments. No walking on eggshells. For 4 years, I built my own life. The phone calls home were obligatory and brief. "Hi, Mom. How are you?" "Oh, surviving. Barely. Unlike some people, I don't have a trust fund to live off of." She never called me first. Not once in 4 years. I graduated with honors and landed a job at Thompson & Associates. Within 2 years, I'd been promoted twice. Work became my sanctuary, and I was good at it. Really good. The Christmas call changed everything. Maybe it was my recent raise, or maybe I was just tired of the guilt, but when Mom complained about broken heating and eating crackers for dinner, something shifted inside me. "I'll come visit next week," I heard myself say. The house looked worse than I remembered. Peeling paint, broken gutters, ancient carpet that smelled like defeat. Mom opened the door wearing that martyred expression I knew so well. "I'm doing well at work," I told her over coffee. "I'd like to help. I can give you $1,000 a month, and we can fix up the house." Her eyes lit up like Christmas morning. Within weeks, the house had fresh paint, new carpets, working heat. Our relationship found a new rhythm. Mom would call with dinner invitations, her voice warm and enthusiastic for the first time in years. "Jenna, sweetie, I was thinking we could try that new Italian place on Mason Street. Nothing fancy, just a nice family dinner." These dinners became our thing. Modest restaurants where entrees didn't break $30 and the wine list fit on one page. Sometimes it was just us, other times she'd invite Aunt Carol or Uncle Pete. The bill usually came to around $200, which I always picked up without hesitation. At Luigi's, a cozy family-owned place with checkered tablecloths and candles in Chianti bottles, Mom bragged about me to Aunt Carol. "Did I tell you that Jenna just landed the Anderson account? The biggest client in her firm's history. My daughter's a real powerhouse in the business world. Takes after her father that way." It felt different from the childhood bragging when I was just another accessory in her perfect life. This time, she was genuinely proud of what I'd accomplished on my own. My career continued to flourish. I closed bigger deals, earned larger bonuses, bought my own house. When I upgraded to a new car, it felt natural to give Mom my old Lexus. Her ancient Honda was dying anyway. I arranged for high-speed internet when I saw her struggling with dial-up. Started covering her utility bills when I realized she was keeping the house too cold in winter to save money. The business trips became family adventures. New York, Boston, Chicago, San Francisco. I'd bring Mom and 1 or 2 relatives along. They'd entertain themselves while I was in meetings, then we'd explore together on my free days. They never asked for shopping sprees or expensive shows, though I'd occasionally surprise them with Broadway tickets or a dinner cruise. It felt like I was finally getting to know my real mother. The person she might have been if money hadn't warped her perspective all those years ago. The phone call came on a Tuesday morning while I was reviewing contracts. Mom's voice had that special excitement I'd grown to recognize. "Jenna, honey, I've been thinking about my birthday next month. You know I'm turning 55, right?" "Of course, Mom. I was planning to come down for it. Did you want to do something special? Oh yes, I want to celebrate properly this time. It's a big milestone, after all. I immediately started planning. How about a nice dinner at your place? We could invite the usual crowd. I could hire a caterer or order from that Italian place you love. Oh no. Darling, she cut me off. Don't worry about any of that. I want to arrange everything myself this time. You've done so much for me lately. Let me handle my own birthday celebration. Something in her tone should have warned me. The slight breathlessness. The way she rushed through the words. But I was just happy to see her taking initiative. Are you sure? I really don't mind helping. Absolutely positive. Just show up at 7. I'll text you the restaurant address. When the day came, I flew in early and checked into my usual hotel. Mom had texted me an address I didn't recognize, but I didn't think much of it until my taxi pulled up at Le Chateau. The most expensive restaurant in the city. The kind of place where the menu doesn't list prices and you need reservations months in advance. My heart sank into my stomach as the hostess led me through the main dining room, past crystal chandeliers and gold-leafed walls, to a massive private section in the back. 30 people. At least 30 people spread across several tables draped in pristine white linen. Every relative we had plus half of Mom's social circle. The faces blurred together in the soft lighting, cousins I hadn't seen in years, family friends I barely remembered, distant relatives who'd never shown interest in me before. Jenna. Mom rushed forward, tears gleaming in her eyes. She wrapped me in a tight hug that smelled of her favorite expensive perfume. I'm so happy you're here. Stunned, I let myself be led to a seat. Aunt Carol reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You're such a wonderful daughter, she gushed. Your mother couldn't stop talking about how you insisted on throwing her this amazing party. The foie gras is divine, and I hear the Wagyu beef is coming up next. The room seemed to spin as realization hit me. Mom hadn't just arranged her own birthday party. She'd arranged an extravagant celebration that she expected me to pay for without even telling me about it. My stomach churned as I watched plate after plate of obscenely expensive food arrive at the tables. Waiters glided between guests, pouring $500 bottles of wine like it was tap water. Japanese Wagyu beef that I knew cost $400 per serving. Imported caviar. Whole lobsters flown in from Maine. A quick mental calculation made me dizzy. $8,000 at least. Maybe more. Aunt Carol stood up, champagne flute in hand, gently tapping it with her silver spoon. The crystal ring echoed through the private dining room as conversations died down. I'd like to make a toast, she announced, her face glowing. To my wonderful niece, Jenna. Your generosity tonight shows just what an amazing daughter you are. The way you've taken care of your mother, and now this incredible celebration. I'm sorry, I cut in, my voice shaking slightly. But I need to stop you right there. The room fell silent. Mom's smile froze on her face. I didn't arrange this dinner, I continued, looking around the room. I didn't choose this restaurant. I didn't authorize any of these expenses. In fact, this is the first I'm hearing about any of it. Gasps rippled through the gathering. Someone's fork clattered against their plate. Jenna, Mom hissed, her face reddening. Don't be ridiculous. Of course you're paying for this. Who else would? I stood up slowly, my chair scraping against the marble floor. No, Mom. I'm not. I offered to host a nice dinner at your house or order from your favorite Italian place. You said you wanted to handle everything yourself. You never mentioned Le Chateau or inviting 30 people. But you always pay, she sputtered. Reasonable things. Normal restaurants. Basic bills. Not this. I gestured at the extravagant spread. I don't owe you a blank check. You ungrateful, Mom's voice cracked. After everything I've done for you. Everything you've done for me? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You mean like trying to spend my college fund? Or running Dad's company into the ground? The silence in the room was deafening. I reached into my purse and pulled out my wallet, counting out $200. This covers my pork chop and glass of wine, I said, placing the bills on the crisp white tablecloth. Good luck with the rest. And that's how I found myself walking out of Le Chateau, the clicking of my heels marking the end of an era. The night air hit my face like a slap as I emerged onto the street. I hailed the first taxi I saw and directed it to my hotel. As soon as I reached my room, I turned off my phone. I knew it would start ringing soon enough. For the first time in years, I felt truly alone. And strangely, wonderfully free. The next morning, my phone nearly exploded when I turned it on. 47 missed calls from Mom. 28 from Aunt Carol. 15 from Uncle Pete. Dozens more from various relatives. The voicemail was full. I took a deep breath and called Mom. She picked up on the first ring. Mom, I'm sorry about how things went down last night. I'm coming over now. We need to talk about what happened at the restaurant. I genuinely thought she might meet me halfway. That maybe, just maybe, she'd realize how inappropriate it was to arrange such an extravagant party on someone else's dime without even asking them. I couldn't have been more wrong. How dare you? Her shriek was so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. You selfish, narcissistic, ungrateful thing. Do you have any idea what you've done? Mom, if you just told me about, you completely humiliated me in front of everyone. Do you know what happened after you stormed out like a spoiled brat? Everyone had to chip in $400 each to cover the bill. $400. The total came to $12,000, and you, with all your money, couldn't even be bothered to pay for your own mother's birthday, you greedy bastard. My head spun. $12,000. They'd ordered even more after I'd left. You think I'm greedy, Mom? Fine. I'll show you greedy. I hung up mid-rant. My hands weren't shaking anymore. Instead, a cold clarity settled over me as I opened my laptop. First, I logged into my bank account and canceled the automatic monthly transfer of $1,000 to her account. Next, I called the car dealership where I'd purchased my old Lexus. Hi, this is Jenna Mitchell. I need to arrange for a vehicle retrieval. The car is still in my name. 20 minutes later, a tow truck was on its way to Mom's house. I pulled up the internet service provider's website. 3 clicks, and her high-speed connection was scheduled for disconnection. Finally, I opened my social media account and started typing, important announcement for my family members, effective immediately, I will no longer be financing any trips or travel expenses for my mother or relatives. Any previous arrangements are cancelled. Please make your own travel plans going forward. I hit post and closed my laptop. It felt like closing a chapter of my life. The fallout was nuclear. Within hours of my social media post, my notifications exploded with comments from relatives who, just days before, had been more than happy to enjoy my generosity. How could you do this to your own mother? Aunt Carol wrote. After everything she sacrificed for you? You're nothing but a selfish, money-obsessed ingrate. Uncle Pete, who traveled with us to San Francisco just 2 months earlier, chimed in, your father would be ashamed of what you've become. Is this how he raised you? To abandon family? The comments kept coming, each one more venomous than the last. My cousin Rachel, who I'd helped move into her new apartment just last year, posted, don't bother showing up at my wedding in September. I don't want someone so heartless at my special day. It was fascinating, really. Watching how quickly they forgot all the dinners, all the trips, all the times I'd picked up the check without a second thought. Now I was the villain in their story. The greedy daughter who'd cut off her poor mother. None of them mentioned the $12,000 dinner bill they'd been forced to split. None of them questioned why mom had invited 30 people to a restaurant where entrees started at $300 without discussing it with the person she expected to pay. In their version of events, that part didn't matter. The first few weeks were the hardest. I threw myself into work, took on extra projects, anything to keep my mind occupied. My phone kept buzzing with messages from unknown numbers, relatives trying to reach me through different phones after I'd blocked them. I changed my number. Some nights I'd lie awake wondering if I'd done the right thing. But then I'd remember all the times mom had manipulated me. All the guilt trips. All the endless demands disguised as love. The birthday dinner wasn't an isolated incident. It was just the most blatant example of a pattern that had been there all along. 2 months after the restaurant incident, mom tried to reach out. She used her neighbor's phone to leave a voicemail. "Jenna, honey, can we talk? I miss you. Things have been difficult. Maybe we could meet for coffee? Just us." Her voice sounded smaller somehow. Less certain. Part of me wanted to believe she'd changed. That she'd finally understood. But then I noticed she still hadn't apologized. There was no acknowledgement of what she'd done. No taking responsibility. Just another attempt to reel me back in. I blocked that number too. Life went on. I got another promotion at work. Without the constant drain of supporting mom and various relatives, my salary stretched further than I'd ever imagined. I took a trip to Europe. Alone this time. No relatives to entertain. No one's demands to accommodate. It was liberating. Sometimes, through mutual acquaintances or social media, I hear bits and pieces about mom's life. She had to downsize again, move to an even smaller place. She complains to anyone who'll listen about her ungrateful daughter who abandoned her. The relatives all sympathize, of course. But interestingly, none of them have offered to support her the way I did. Do I miss having a mother? Sometimes. But I missed the mother I needed, not the one I had. I miss the idea of family, but not the reality of what my family had become, a network of users, all too happy to take everything I could give and then condemn me when I finally said enough. Maybe someday mom will have a real epiphany. Maybe she'll understand that love shouldn't come with a price tag. That family isn't about financial transactions. Maybe she'll offer a genuine apology, not the kind that comes with excuses or demands, but one that shows true understanding of the hurt she's caused. If that day comes, I might be open to rebuilding some kind of relationship. A different one, with clear boundaries and mutual respect. But even then, I'll never go back to being the family ATM. That chapter of my life is closed forever. The woman who once stood in that marble-floored restaurant, surrounded by 30 expectant faces and a $12,000 bill, learned something valuable that night. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. Sometimes freedom costs exactly $200 and the courage to say no. And sometimes, the sound of your heels clicking on marble as you leave behind everything that was slowly killing you is the most beautiful music you'll ever hear.